But if there is no God, meaning by that there is no being that created matter and energy, if there is no God, no being that created matter and energy, then obviously we come from matter and energy. So you like to use the word love. Come on, man. If there is no God, you know what love is.
What if everything you believe about meaning, morality, and love is built on a foundation that cannot hold? One sharp-minded student challenges Cliffe with a profound question. Does God exist? Is morality real or just a personal preference? And if there is no creator, what is love? A genuine choice or nothing more than a chemical reaction? Cliffe argues that without an ultimate lawgiver, right and wrong collapse into pure opinion, that even Hitler and Mother Teresa become morally equal. But his challengers fire back hard, insisting meaning can exist without God, and that intellectual honesty cuts both ways. The stakes could not be higher, because if Cliffe is wrong, nothing ultimately matters. But if he is right, everything changes. Let's step into the conversation.
From Atheist. And you kind of reduce it to how you can choose broccoli or macaroni one day. Some atheists would consider that insulting because we can find different meanings in life. You don't have to invest in one person. As you say, you can invest in an ideal. Similar to Christianity, you find your meaning, your meaningfulness in life through Jesus. What about other idols? I believe Jesus was a good role model. I could follow his ideal. What about Gandhi? What about Buddha? It doesn't necessarily be one person, but more of an ideal.
The question I was seeking to answer was, what is the evidence that God exists? That God, not Jesus, that God exists. In other words, some type of supernatural being, some type of eternal being. And my point was, if there is no eternal being, then obviously meaning demands a mind, and meaning is something that we create in our heads. Following me so far? Okay. Which means, if I in my head say, the meaning of my life is to feed this man, to love this man, that's cool. But I could just as equally say, the meaning of my life is to murder him and to steal from him. One is not right, the other's not wrong, because meaning comes from right here. And if right here says today, the meaning of my life is to respect and love him, that's cool. But if tomorrow I say the meaning of my life is to steal from him and murder him, that's equally cool. Because there is no ultimate meaning to life, because there's no eternal being who created us for a purpose. We just happened. And we're the first minds, and it takes a mind to define meaning. And therefore, if I create my meaning as to love him, that's cool. And if I create my meaning to hate him, that's equally cool. And you see, then when you think about that seriously, you begin to realize, well, it doesn't really matter whether I love him or murder him. It's just my meaning. It's what I create. That's what Nietzsche and Camus and Sartre point out is the reason that life is ultimately meaningless, because it really doesn't matter what you decide your meaning is. Whatever you choose, go ahead. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, I don't believe a human has such a consistency to say, I'm going to wake up and love him one day. No, I'm going to wake up and murder him one day.
Okay.
It's an ideal one chooses to believe throughout life. And I would like to believe they stick to some moral code or some idealism. They don't flip-flop every day. I don't understand the argument where, I don't know, the way you make it seem is just if you don't have a fundamental base in a higher moral being, then you're saying that person can go either way each day.
All right. The point is, if there is no higher being, no God, then you and I create our meaning. And if part of our meaning is to be consistent, fine, be consistent. Hitler was pretty consistent. Idi Amin was pretty consistent. Gandhi was pretty consistent. Mother Teresa was pretty consistent. But you see, the point is, it's relative. It really doesn't matter whether you choose to be Adolf Hitler II or Mother Teresa II. It's your choice. You create your own meaning. If there is no creator, you create it. You are the creator. You're God, in a sense.
Are you saying there's, I guess, not as much fun? I mean, how can I say? Are you deducing if you create your own meaning as opposed to if you get it from higher power?
No, I'm saying that we have two options that I know of. Either there is a creator who makes us for a purpose, which means there can be ultimate meaning in life, or else there is no creator, no God, Our number came up in a Monte Carlo game. We evolve by chance. We're here, and we create our own meaning. So if I create my own meaning and you create your own meaning, and if we contradict each other, there's no problem, because you've created your own meaning and I've created my own meaning. Ultimately, objectively, there's no real meaning to life. It's simply what you choose to create, what I choose to create. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes. Sorry, I don't want to confuse you. So I can create my own meaning, but you get your meaning from, I guess, God, right? And your meaning would come from the Word of God, which would be the Bible, right?
Well, we're not there yet, okay? We're simply at the initial stage, which is, do you, from your observation of life, think that there is a real purpose to human existence, or do you think there is no purpose to human existence? Life is ultimately meaningless. See, now my point is, as I observe human beings, although many human beings like to say to me, well, there is no God and life is ultimately meaningless, they can't live it out.
Yeah, I agree.
They cannot live it out. And so what's that called? That's called intellectual hypocrisy. If I say I believe something, but I cannot live it out, I'm a hypocrite. The same way if I say, I believe in Jesus, and then you watch me go out and womanize, you have a word for me. Hypocrite, Cliff. You say with your mind you believe in Jesus, but the way you live your life is you contradict him. You're a hypocrite. And so my simple point is, if you say that life is meaningless, but then you live your life as if life has real meaning, not just arbitrary, aren't you an intellectual hypocrite?
Can't you have meaning without
Yes. You can have meaning without God, but you got to remember, it's not ultimate. It's just a prejudice. You've created it in your head. And if you had chosen to create the opposite of whatever it is the meaning of your life is, that would be equally valid. Let's say that you've created in your head, the purpose of my life is to love people. Great. But if there is no ultimate meaning to life, what you're having to acknowledge is, if I say the meaning of my life is to hate people instead of to love them, that's just as legitimate. Right?
legitimate. I mean, that calls into question the morality of it, but that's another topic.
Yeah, exactly. That's another topic that we get right into, which is, if there is no God, there's no moral lawgiver, which means you make up the laws, I make up the laws, or the government makes up the laws, or the power elite make up the laws, but it's all relative.
I mean, yes, it would be relative, but you're saying earlier if you were to hit someone and they would be all right with that. I would have to disagree with that, because if you hit someone, of course, both may have relative morals, but you're not just going to say, oh, if that's okay with you, it's okay with me. Of course, you're going to disagree with them.
Right.
And you're going to try and educate them why you think it's wrong.
Right.
And that's where, I guess, of course, morality is going to clash between everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that you get your morality based on scripture, still, I usually take it as that's a sign of superiority. If you get your sign from the Word of God, as opposed to you kind of picking and choosing the morality focusing on it by God's light.
Hey, if I eat my children, what are you going to say to me?
That's wrong.
What do you mean when you say that's wrong?
Because you're taking life and you're taking the liberty from the children.
So what? If morality is relative, and if I eat my children, what do you say to me? You say I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Well, that's from your perspective.
True.
And remember, if morality is relative, right and wrong are simply a perspective. They're not ultimately right or ultimately wrong. It's just a bias, a taste, a perspective.
Why would you eat your children?
Because I'm hungry.
So it's just as arbitrary as you're hungry.
Yeah.
There's no meaning behind it.
Well, I'm hungry and I want to sustain my life, so I'm going to eat my children. Because they taste good.
So there's no value in life besides sustenance.
Exactly. Why does life have value if we're simply pond scum evolved to a higher order?
We're not pond scum.
Okay, what are we?
We evolved, yes, over millions of years, and we have consciousness. So we grew up to live and love one another. You don't necessarily need like a high power to tell you that. I mean, it's you kind of learn that growing up.
Yeah, but if there is no God, meaning by that there is no being that created matter and energy. If there is no God, no being that created matter and energy, then obviously we come from matter and energy. So you like to use the word love. Come on, man. If there is no God, you know what love is. It's a chemical reaction. That's all it is. It's a drive to preserve the genetic pool. It's a sex drive. That's all it is. It's not this free decision to actually care for somebody, right?
I don't- mm,
Keep going. I like you. You're doing well.
you say it's a sex drive. I mean, what about romance or whatever? Just because I would love somebody else doesn't mean it's a sex drive. It could be like for connection, human connection.
Oh, come on. If all of reality comes from matter and energy, you know what romance is. Your sex glands have been excited.
Yep, love. I mean, love that extends beyond sexual.
Yeah, what is love beyond sex? What is love beyond a drive to preserve the genetic pool, to keep my children, my babies alive, to preserve the genetic pool?
There's familial love.
Oh, yeah, I know there's love. But you see, if there is no God, what we're saying is reality is matter and energy evolved to a higher order. So what is love? See, if you say there is no God, you're automatically reducing reality to matter and energy. You're a materialist, aren't you? Which means love is simply a biochemical reaction. Isn't it? Well, I mean, what more is there to reality if all of reality is matter and energy? You've got matter and energy mixing in my brain in such a way that I feel drawn to you. But in reality, what's going on is I want to preserve the genetic pool, so I want you to live.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily going through your mind. When a lot of people choose to love, it's not they want to preserve a genetic pool.
Very good. I agree with you. So you just look at the way you live your life. You look at the way you experience life, which is baloney. I know there's something more to love than just a drive to preserve the genetic pool, just a sex drive. What is it? I think that every single one of us, every atheist, every agnostic, every theist, has the ability, the genuine ability, to really care for another person. But you see, the atheist or the materialist or the naturalist is in a jam because they're reducing reality to matter and energy, but their experience tells them, oh, no. There's more to my experience than matter and energy. I have a free will. I can genuinely care for someone or I can smack them. And I don't have to do either. Does that make any sense?
Kind of.
Okay, where's the breakdown?
I just have the issue when you reduce something to matter and energy because when you reduce it to that, of course, there's something to be wrong with it because it's so simple. Love is not simple.
Okay.
So, sorry, what was the argument?
Obviously, matter is real. Obviously, energy is real. The question you and I are trying to think through is God real? Now, I can't see God and I can't feel God's energy. So I was trying to answer the question, well then, Cliff, if you can't see God, if God isn't material, and if God is not an energy that you can feel pushing you, then why would you, as a thinking human being, believe that God exists? And one of my pieces of evidence for God's existence is not my, just our experience of love. Now, what is love? I would argue that your experience and my experience teach us that there is more to love than just matter and energy. We have a free will, which is why when your girlfriend says, I love you, you get excited. But if your dad calls you up tonight and says, I've been paying her $1,000 a week to date you and love you, you'd be distraught. You'd be bummed out. Why? Because love, in order to be real, must be free. If it ain't free, it ain't love. So what is love? It's this free decision to care for somebody, to put your interests before my own, to really be concerned about you. And every atheist friend of mine loves. But you see, that love that they're experiencing should tell them that there's more to reality than matter and energy. Now, my MIT atheist friend says this. He says, Cliff, you're right. All of reality, because I believe there is no God, is just matter and energy. But we are such complex combinations of matter and energy that we just have this ability to love. I say, fine, please explain it to me. And this brilliant MIT grad says, well, I can't explain it biochemically or physically, but it's obvious that we experience it, and therefore I, because I don't allow for the existence of God, have to conclude that somehow, in a way that we will discover at some point, matter and energy come together in such a way that we have this ability to love. And I say, wow, that's fascinating. Somehow, some way, someday, we're going to figure out how matter and energy come together in such a way that we have free will and this ability to love. I think that breaks down philosophically. That make any sense?
That makes a little sense.